In the grand tapestry of human progress, science is the golden thread, weaving continents together, illuminating truths, and shaping destinies. And when two nations meet, not merely to exchange findings, but to exchange wisdom, courage, and curiosity, a new constellation of possibilities lights up the horizon. With that spirit of intellectual camaraderie and global fellowship, I, Ananya Banerjee, extend a warm, radiant, and deeply respectful morning to all the esteemed dignitaries, distinguished scientists, and cherished guests gracing this hall today. It is my profound honor to welcome you to the 6th Indian National Science Academy Royal Society Yusuf Hamied Workshop, a gathering that stands as a testament to what can be achieved when the Indian National Science Academy and the Royal Society UK come together in a shared pursuit of knowledge and impact. This workshop is a visionary initiative dedicated to nurturing Indo UK research partnerships, nurturing mid career and senior scientists, and kindling dialogues that transcend boundaries and disciplines. To commence our proceedings with grace and vision, it is my pleasure to invite Professor Vivek V. Bova, Deputy Director IIT Delhi, to offer the inaugural welcome and open the intellectual voyage we embark upon today. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Good morning. A warm welcome to all of you on behalf of INSA, on behalf of IIT Delhi. Uh, uh, Many of the colleagues here present on the dais and in the hall know about IIT Delhi, but we also have a big delegation coming from UK, and there are some university students for their benefit. IIT Delhi was started as a college of engineering in 1961, and 2 years later it was declared as the Indian Institute of Technology Delhi in 1963 by a special act of parliament. In last 6+ decades, about 62,000 students have graduated out of this institute. And today, if you see, we have about 12,000 students, 40% of them about undergraduate students, 30% postgraduate students, and then about 30% PhD students. We have about 650 faculty members in this institute. And we are an education and research institute for most of the engineering disciplines, science, management, humanities, social sciences. And together, we publish about 4,000 plus publications, file about 150 patents every year. And we do a sponsored R&D worth about 600 crore rupees, which roughly translates to about 550 to 60 million US dollars every year. It's a pleasure to be the host for this event, 6th INSA RS Yusuf Hamied Workshop, which is jointly organized by INSA and Royal Society of UK. So my warm welcome to all of you. I wish a very successful workshop, pleasant and fruitful deliberations today and later. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for graciously beginning and also highlighting the research pursuit of IIT Delhi. To further illuminate the purpose and global resonance of this Indo-UK scientific partnership, I now invite Professor Debashish Mitra, Vice President International, a guiding light for INSA's international endeavors. Over to you, sir.
Good morning and welcome to you all. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all today for the 6th edition of INSA Royal Society Yusuf Hamied Workshop, organized jointly by Indian National Science Academy and Royal Society UK, and is being held at, as you heard, IIT Delhi. We are grateful to all the Indian and UK experts who have kindly agreed to be part of this workshop and have traveled long distances to be here today. INSA and the Royal Society have been cooperating for over 3 decades now. On 8th May 2018, Professor Venki Ramakrishnan, then President of the Royal Society, proposed a bilateral workshop series funded by the Yusuf and Hamied Foundation to Professor Ajay K. Sood, then President of INSA. INSA formally agreed to this proposal, and it was initiated in 2018. Dr. Hamied was also elected as a fellow of INSA in the special category in 2019. The INSA Royal Society Bilateral Workshop Series is generously and fully supported by the Yusuf and Hamied Foundation and started in 2020 to enhance scientific collaboration between India and the United Kingdom. The workshops provide a platform for senior and the mid-career researchers from both countries to explore themes of common scientific interest and societal relevance, alternating between the UK and India and occasionally conducted online because of the COVID. These workshops represent a flagship academic engagement between INSA and the Royal Society. The first workshop was held in UK in January 2020, second and third was online in March 2021 and February 2023. Fourth was in Delhi in July 2023. Fifth and the last year, it was in London 2024. And the two themes which were discussed last year was health, the science and technology base for improving access to healthcare, and also biodiversity and water for sustainability. Today we are starting the 6th workshop in New Delhi with two themes. The theme A is secondary health prevention, which is being co-chaired by Dr. Soumya Saminathan from India and Professor Christy Donnelly from University of Oxford and Imperial College London. Theme B is sustainability of the digital cyber world, which will be co-chaired by Professor Ashutosh Sharma from INSA. Unfortunately, Professor Mata is unable to attend, so it will be, I think, chaired by Alison Noble. In this workshop, the co-chairs have identified 8 sub-themes. Under each of these 2 themes, there will be 1 Indian and 1 UK speaker in each of these sub-themes. So there will be 2 parallel sessions on the 2 themes with 16 talks under each theme delivered by 16 experts from India and 16 from UK respectively. But unfortunately, I think a couple of UK experts were unable to come or travel. I am sure this will be an exciting workshop with fruitful interaction between the 2 sides. Once again, I welcome you all and look forward to an exciting 2 days of deliberations. I would also like to thank Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi for supporting us with this venue. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for mentioning about the long ties of INSA and Royal Society and also briefing the audience about the 6th Yusuf Hamied workshop. Thank you, sir. We now turn to the opening remarks from 2 eminent academies that give this workshop its soul. With great pleasure, I invite Professor Alison Noble, Foreign Secretary of the Royal Society UK, a luminary in biomedical engineering and a steadfast advocate of cross-border research. Professor Noble, we eagerly await your words. Over to you.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Good morning. On behalf of the Royal Society, I am delighted to welcome you to the 6th bilateral meeting of the Yusuf Hamied programme. And it's hosted, as you know, in partnership with the Indian National Science Academy, INSA. And I would like to start by thanking Professor Sharma and the INSA team for their support in bringing this event to life. As you all imagine, that these events take a lot of effort behind the scenes to enable people to come and also to put the programme together. For the benefit of some of you who might not be familiar with the Royal Society is an institution, it's a charity and a fellowship, and it's championed scientific excellence and science for public good for over 360 years. Our ties with India are deep-rooted. Our first Indian fellow, Ardazir Kirste, was elected in 1841. And today we are honoured to count among our 14 Indian fellows eminent scientists such as Professor A.J. Sood, India's principal scientific advisor. This particular annual meeting plays a key role in our engagement with Indian science. Through the Yusuf Hamied program, we enable international collaborations through visiting fellowships, international exchange grants, and this annual bilateral scientific meeting. And this provides a platform for UK and Indian researchers to showcase their work on areas of mutual priority. This programme is named after Dr. Yusuf Hamied, a Royal Society Fellow and also an INSA Fellow, as mentioned earlier, whose leadership at Kipler made life-saving medicines affordable during the AIDS crisis. So, to today's meeting, we're gathering under two timely and critical themes: secondary health prevention, in other words, aimed at reducing the impact of diseases and injuries that have already occurred, with a focus on early detection, intervention, and treatment to minimize harm. And the second theme, sustainability in the digital and cyber world, is also very timely, examining how digital technologies, while on one hand unlocking transformative opportunities, also pose environmental, social, and economic challenges, and providing, within the context of this meeting, interdisciplinary perspectives on ensuring that digital innovation drives sustainability without compromising its own long-term viability. Science, of course, is inherently global, and the purpose of these meetings is not only to exchange knowledge, but it's also to build lasting networks and partnerships. And I do encourage participants to take full advantage of this opportunity, connect with your peers, explore collaborations, and also consider applying for meaning the Royal Society's International Exchange Grant Scheme, which aims to turn ideas into impactful projects. So finally, I extend my gratitude to the teams at INSA and also our own team at the Royal Society for their efforts in organising this two-day workshop. And to our co-chairs who have so creatively designed a rich and stimulating programme. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for presenting the vision behind the bilateral workshop and also emphasizing on the expected outcome of this year's gathering. Thank you. With great pleasure, I now invite Padma Shri Professor Ashutosh Sharma to present his scholarly brilliance with us. Over to you, sir.
Good morning. I'm so happy to see that we are looking at three most important keywords of our times here in the meeting. These are health. So this is secondary health prevention. I'm not very sure about what health prevention actually means because I'm not a person from health background. So I thought health prevention is actually opposite of what we want to talk about. But I'm sure this has some meaning, but health is very important. The second thing we are looking at here is sustainability and digital cyber world. So the intersections of health, cyber physical, cyber digital, rise of AI and all this stuff. So this is huge. Now, what's important about these three keywords? We are looking at health, digital cyber, and sustainability. What's important about them is that they have a huge impact, not only today, not this century, but for all the centuries to come. So it's great that we are starting out this dialogue now, and a lot of what we say is going to be captured in our policy documents. So this is indeed an important meeting. And I'm so happy that all of us are here together listening to it, but also contributing to these very important themes. These are very interdisciplinary. So not just, I mean, different kind of scientists, but also social scientists, humanities, indeed society at large. So we would not address the problems of health and impact of new technologies on society just by doing good science. We need to do great science, but we also need to integrate and connect that science with different stakeholders of science and the society indeed. So this is something that we need to keep in mind. And it's not only the research and development, but also the policy, the rules, regulations, advocacy for the right kind of policies with the lawmakers. It's a very important aspect of what we deliberate today. And I'm so glad to look at sessions that they integrate in them the best of science, but also the policy aspects that we need to capture. Now, we, of course, because this is a societal problems we are looking at here, so we need diversity, we need inclusion, we need equity in all of this business that we do. And INSA has been having a look at it. Now, the average age of fellows of INSA, or like any academy in the world, is about 73 years, which is very good, nice age. I'm getting there myself very quickly. And the time of election to fellows is about 58 or so. But those of you who are below 50 or 40, do not despair, because we have a new way to connect with you. So these are associate fellows or young associates. Also, the number of women fellows has been about 7% in INSA. I suspect that may be true for many academies the world over, maybe a little bit better. But anyhow, we started a new Women Associate Fellowship to have more stakeholders of science integrate with us, connect with us, and drive activities which are very meaningful, but have been the different perspectives which have been missing a little bit. So I'm glad that this connecting and inspiring is also happening with the open session that we have for Yusuf Hamied. So the previous years, there's been a little bit closed door. So, some fellows listening to other fellows, which is a great thing, but, it gets a little bit saturating. But we have new, younger minds participating in this activity, which is great. In fact, INSA's annual meeting, which also used to be a closed door meeting, wherein new fellows are old fellows are listening to new fellows, and now it's open. So we are going to have this as a celebration of Science Week in Delhi the first week of December. Not just have one meeting in one place, we're going to distribute it over half a dozen universities around Delhi, so that we have lots of young people listening to these great fellows, talking about their research and then inspiring people there. There's also a new policy center in INSA. Again, we are looking at the intersections among sustainability, entrepreneurship, new technologies, and all of that. And I'm very glad that there's a policy dialogue which is happening with Royal Society starting 27th. And so that's a great partnership, new partnership that we are looking at. And this is going to be very fruitful in producing right kind of white papers, policy, research, documents. And finally, INSA is connecting with other, younger scientists by having different training programs. One of them is for mid-career scientists who want to become administrators, like vice chancellors, directors, deans, and so on. So, all the civil servants are taught so well to do their work, but most scientists, if they are good scientists, they just walk into vice chancellor office one day and totally lost about what needs to be done and how. Okay, so we are addressing that problem of training people, good scientists who have the potential to become administrators, and also early career scientists, the meaning of academic life and everything. There's so many new universities in India, so many new IITs, and they don't have continuity in their culture and generational continuity. So they are everybody with the same age. and so they don't have many different ways of looking at academic life. So we're imparting this kind of training. Today I wear two hats, so I'm introducing basically the program that we are here for, and also the new initiatives of INSA in terms of diversity and inclusion. Now I would introduce to you the programs on sustainability of digital cyber. The session, one of the two sessions that I'm chairing. I would need some help because, I don't want to sit here in the same chair for 2 days continuously. So I would ask for a volunteer, one of my friends, to do this. We have great scientists with us. Of course, we have been already introduced Professor Alison Noble, Professor Christy Donnelly, Soumya Swaminathan, Shekhar Mande, I see Dr. Balram Bhargava, a whole lot of great people here. So it would be great to listen to them. Let me just conclude by saying, and sustainability of digital cyber world is so important. We cannot overemphasize its importance. In fact, not just about carbon footprint. In about 30 years, the environmental impact of digital cyber may exceed that of physical world, which is very challenging even today. The server farms in both North and South Pole are melting ice at an alarming rate. So every time I do LLM, it has a cost. There is no free lunch. So we are going to be looking at public infrastructure and open platforms for inclusive growth of cyber digital systems. Security and privacy and trust are very important aspects. Responsible and safe AI, global AI governance and foresight. Look, in every new technology has long shadows. It also has light. So we focus on light, but there's no entity, there's no global entity that looks at the long shadows of technology. And AI is one of those things. I mean, not just AI, it's not just ML, but the AI universe, which has everything from AR, VR to everything that we do every day. So it has huge impact. And so to look at what those impacts are, what the negative aspects of those impact, for example, cognitive. There are already studies which show that cognitive decline in people who are using AI a lot. And these are very early years. I mean, 3 years ago, we didn't know what LLMs are and what they can do for you. So this is happening at exponential breakneck speed. Society always responds very sluggishly, very slowly to exponential technologies. So it's indeed important that we look at AI, the digital well-being. We're going to look at LLMs for research and education. I suspect that more and more research is going to be done by machines, and it's going to be written by machines. It's going to be read by machines. It's going to be disseminated by machines, and all of that's happening now. But it's going to pick up speed like never before that we could not even foresee, and understand in a couple of decades from now. Then we're going to look at dual role of AI in climate change. In other words, there is AI for sustainability, but also sustainability of AI, and we have to look at both of these aspects, sustainability and responsible AI. There's this, we're going to talk about digital sustainability, matrices, and accountability. If we cannot quantify something, then we cannot better it. So what are the matrices that would capture the sustainability of digital cyber world? Very exciting, very new areas, very wide spectrum that are coming up. Please, all of you, be there in the health and the digital session. Also, ask your friends and students and relatives and associates to come join us. There's going to be a very, very interesting sessions. And we get so many great brains under one roof in one day. Indeed, very high density of knowledge here. So thank you very much for being here very early in the morning, and enjoy your sessions, and also give your inputs, if any, that we can factor in our policy deliberations later. ChatGPT is getting very good. I asked it for a joke, just sitting there. He said, tell me a joke about the academy meetings. So he said, look, I mean, the last meeting, there were lots of people with ladders, They said, let us. Why? Because they want to take the discussion to higher level. Thank you very much. That's a chat GPT joke.
Thank you, sir, for highlighting about the theme and also mentioning about advocacy in policy, integrating science with the stakeholders, and the event we look forward to, the Science Week we will be celebrating in Delhi. Thank you, sir. Today, we reflect upon two profound themes that has already been mentioned: secondary health prevention and sustainability in the digital cyber world. And I take the privilege to now invite the India co-chair of secondary health prevention, Dr. Soumya Sominathan, to please brief us all about the theme. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And excuse me, I think this is a side effect of having the meeting in Delhi. But would like to thank both INSA and the Royal Society, and of course Dr. Yusuf Hamied, who's a good friend as well, for this idea of having this workshop series. And very happy to be a partner with Professor Crystal this year to lead this. As I think first we have to clarify what Professor Ashutosh Sharma raised. Yes, I think secondary health prevention is a slightly odd framing. And we should have picked that up. It's in the area of health, secondary prevention. So for those who are not from the health field, you have a disease and you want to try and prevent it, you can do primary prevention, which means that you stop someone from getting the disease. So for example, vaccination, immunization is a good example of primary prevention. Or you can do lifestyle modifications early in your life so that you don't get diseases like diabetes. As far as possible, you can avoid getting the disease. So that would be primary prevention. Now, secondary prevention would be where you are perhaps already got some indication that you have a disease, but it's still in the early stages. And so you're trying to detect it very early and take action so that you can treat it early or get it under control, and you're trying to reduce the long-term complications so that you can still live a healthy life with a good quality of life. So I think that's what we're going to focus on. And then, of course, once you get to the later stage, then you already have a full-blown disease and that needs to be treated, and then you try and do as well as possible to prevent complications and to give you a good quality of life. So we're somewhere in the middle here. So we're really going to talk about, I think, screening programs, early detection. We know whether it's hypertension or whether it is tuberculosis. Early diagnosis, early detection, and proper treatment makes all the difference between, you're recovering fully and getting back your health, or, facing some long-term disabilities. So we also know that the context, that there's a lot of technology that's rapidly changing, right? And the technology is making it, in some cases, much easier to do early detection and diagnosis. But it could also be that the costs go up to do that, and that may become a barrier. And this is why we need to also talk about not just the effectiveness, but the cost effectiveness in different settings. So there is a lot of, I know that in the UK now, I think there's a lot of debate going on a large new study on prostate cancer screening. And even former Prime Minister David Cameron, I heard him saying something about that, coming out in strong support of prostate cancer screening. Now, how you screen, what test you use, what age group you select, and ultimately what you're able to do about it could vary by setting. So, for example, the same test may turn out to be very cost-effective in the UK, but not so cost-effective in the US. I mean, in India. It depends on the burden of disease as well, the DALIs that you're trying to prevent, and so on. So this is the whole area of health technology assessment, which in the UK, again, NICE has been doing it for a very long time. In India, the program is about 10 years old, the Health Technology Assessment Program. It's within the Department of Health Research. Dr. Balram Bhargav and I both headed that department at some point. and we were both strong supporters of the health technology assessment program. So it's grown from strength to strength. We have some people here in the audience like Dr. Muralidharan, who's been associated with it for a long time. So that really gives a boost to the Ministry of Health when they need to decide, because there's a fixed amount of budget that the ministry has. And so they've got to choose between what new technologies to introduce to have the maximum population level benefit. So this is where, it's relatively easy for technical people to come up with a long list of things that the government should do. But then when you apply the lens of having a limited fiscal space and perhaps also operational challenges, then you need to think about which ones you would pick, what your biggest burden is, and where you will get the maximum returns in terms of lives saved and disability averted. So it requires quite a lot of complex interdisciplinary work and analysis. It's not just a simple thing that can be done by medical doctors. That's why we have economists and social scientists and others who participate in this type of. There's also the ethical aspect that often comes up. So ethics and equity also must be considered when one is making these kinds of choices, particularly for a public health program. So I think that's a little bit of what we hope that we can discuss over the next 2 days. So we have very, very eminent speakers from both India and the UK who are participating. And I hope that there will be a good outcome from this in terms of both perhaps some kind of policy guidance or policy note or recommendations. I think Professor Sharma, you mentioned that's been put in place, that there will be young fellows who are taking notes and who can help us to develop something perhaps that could be submitted to whoever is interested. I think it's a good moment also for the Academy for INSA to really think about its role in policy making. The fact that it represents the voice of so many scientists, from different disciplines from around the country. There's a huge strength that can be used really to have a much bigger impact on policy. I think when science starts to inform and motivate policy change, then that's always a very good thing. And I'm sure we can learn from our friends from the UK, from the Royal Society. And we were talking last night about the fairly large program that they have on public policy and how to engage science and public policy. So I think this should not just be a 2-day affair where we just speak to a few people in the room, but hopefully can have a bigger impact beyond this. So I'd like to thank my co-chair, also Professor Crystal Donnelly, for really, we've had some very good discussions. And of course, all the speakers who've traveled from across India, but also, of course, from the UK. Thank you all for making it here, and I'm looking forward to the next 2 days of discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for highlighting the significance of diagnostics and also about the secondary prevention, mentioning about health technology assessment, fiscal aspects, and also highlighting the need for ethics and equity. Thank you so much, ma'am. With this, I now invite our UK co-chair of the theme Secondary Health Prevention, Professor Crystal Donnelly, University of Oxford and Imperial College London. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. As a statistician working in epidemiology, specifically infectious disease epidemiology, I feel very much in the overlap of the two themes. And, if we think of the impact, so this secondary prevention, a lot of it will depend on, when we're analyzing data on a particular thing to understand who's at highest risk for secondary complications, for secondary health impacts. That requires us to do analysis, and so then we end up with a digital footprint. So the things are very intertied. Also in terms of diagnostics, of course, Professor Noble is one of the people who's worked on diagnostics and for understanding if you're using scans, ultrasound scans, for example, how to best analyze those data to be able to, with most precision, detect whatever anomaly you're looking for. And so, as you're aware, with the impact of AI and machine learning that's affecting many aspects of our lives, being able to analyze the data coming through from whether it's ultrasounds, whether it's MRIs, whether it's X-rays, all these things are being transformed in the way that digital algorithms can be used to detect things. Now, of course, we need to make sure that these are helpful and that there's a synergy between the people providing healthcare and interpretation as well as these technologies. But there's a footprint in terms of impact and methodology, as well as, of course, in terms of energy and the implications of that. So yes, I'd like to thank everyone who's agreed to come and take part, as well as my co-organizers. It's been great to think through the different aspects of it. Health is by definition so interdisciplinary, and sort of thinking these through. Another aspect in which we think both health and digital or computational methods is thinking about looking at genetic predispositions to things. And so, of course, one of the aspects when we're looking at secondary, prevention of these secondary health outcomes, we can think of looking at the person's biological state, what do we see about their health at the time, but also what is their genetic predisposition? What information can we get from that? And it's really important when we're doing that, if we have sort of biobanks to analyze these data, to make sure that they're representation of different populations. So we end up, for example, in the UK, we have a large biobank, but there are some subgroups that are less likely to take part in research, and so they can end up underrepresented. It's also important to make sure that we're not basing sort of our results just on the biobanks that may occur in the UK and the US, and so then drawing conclusions for the entire world. So there are these sort of databases in India and other countries that are incredibly important, but they need to be expanded and to make sure that they're representative and including data from currently underrepresented groups, to make sure that their data are being represented and therefore the conclusions that are being drawn are appropriately applicable to these wider populations. So there's equity, there's inclusion across all of these themes. And so we have a wide range. It's really, whenever you sort of step back from my infectious disease epidemiology sort of world and think more broadly in health, it's so wide. So in terms of thinking, we thought through a whole range of different things in terms of secondary prevention, whether that's behaviors and trying to get people to change behaviors to lead lives that will help them be more healthy, if changing behaviors and the impact on others. If you're thinking of, for example, you could have social violence, or you can have domestic violence impacts and sort of intervening there, whether it's non-communicable diseases or infectious diseases. There's a whole wide range of things. And in a lot of cases, these impacts may come together. So you can have people, if they're living a particular lifestyle, that may lead to risk factors that both increase their risk of, for example, infectious diseases, as well as for non-communicable diseases of lifestyle that may be increased by the risk of smoking or dietary behavior. So all of these things come together. So I hope that we'll be able to have lots of interesting discussions, I'm sure we will, in our sessions, but also to make sure that we're speaking across what could be seen as a divide. I don't think it really is between the two different themes, because digital has impacts in so many different parts of our lives. And of course, if we're not healthy, then we won't be doing a good job in that aspect of our life as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am, for highlighting the synergy between people providing healthcare and technology, mentioning about biobanks, genetic technology, and also at the end about the behavioral changes that we see. Thank you, ma'am. It is now my honor to invite our distinguished special guest, Dr. Shekhar Mande, a scientist of exceptional stature. Sir, we request for your special address.
Thank you, Ananya. Professor Ashutosh Sharma, President of Indian National Science Academy, Professor Alison Noble, Foreign Secretary, Royal Society, all the dignitaries on dais, all the colleagues and friends who have traveled long distances within India and overseas, friends and colleagues. It's a great pleasure for me to be able to be here with all of you today on this particular occasion, where we are discussing two principal themes: sustainability in digital and cyber world, and secondary prevention in health. Both these are very important aspects, but I'm also delighted that this is being supported strongly by Dr. Yusuf Hamied. For the younger students who probably may not know much about the Hamied family, Dr. Yusuf Hamied's father, Dr. Khwaja Abdul Hamid, was the one who founded Chemical, Industrial and Pharmaceuticals Laboratory Limited, what is abbreviated as CIPLA, in 1920s. But he also was a great supporter of Indian science, and he lobbied with the then British government to support through publicly funded means to support Indian science and technology. And then started the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, primarily through his efforts and a few others, Arcot Ramaswamy Mudliya and others, that India actually started a large chain of laboratories, what is now called as CSIR. Dr. Khwaja Abdul Hamid also was a member of the CSIR's governing board for the next 20 years, and he supported Indian science very, very strongly. Dr. Yusuf Hamied himself has been a great supporter of science. Those of you who probably know the history of AIDS and HIV across the world, in the 1980s, when it appeared that the problem was assuming a great proportion, a great significance, and when the drugs were not available at affordable price, especially in the sub-Saharan Africa, Dr. Yusuf Hamied tied up once again with CSIR laboratories, the National Chemical Laboratory in Pune, and the Regional Research Laboratory in Hyderabad, then, today what is called as Indians of Chemical Technology, in making HIV drugs extremely affordable, which were then adopted and provided through the entire global south for prevention and cure of HIV. So in that sense, Dr. Yusuf Hamied also has been a great supporter of science. The two themes that have been chosen here, both of them are extremely important, as we heard from the co-chairs of both the themes just now. Sustainability in the digital world, of course, is assuming a great proportion. I have the privilege of sitting on board of a few companies these days, and yesterday afternoon, we spent about 6 hours in an online meeting with one of the largest business conglomerates in India and all the board members of those, how we are actually going to promote sustainability from the industrial perspective. And industry has a shared responsibility along with the scientific community in making sure that we have the world sustainable for many, many years to come. But in that respect, the learned academies of different countries, and especially the Royal Society UK and the Indian National Science Academy, also have a shared responsibility on generating policy papers on both the themes that have been chosen. And I'm delighted that the themes have been chosen so well and are being led by very distinguished leaders of both these areas. So I look forward to discussions that happen here today and tomorrow, and all the very best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for broadening our knowledge horizon and letting us know the historical contribution of Professor Hamied. And thank you for sharing and letting us know about the shared responsibility, what we look forward between Royal Society and INSA. Thank you, sir. To formally convey our gratitude, I now invite Dr. Brijesh Pandey, Executive Director, INSA, to present the vote of thanks for the inaugural session. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, namaskar. Respected Professor Ashutosh Sharma, President, Indian National Science Academy, Professor Shekhar Mande, Professor Alison Noble, Professor Devashish Mitra, Professor Vivek Bhivua, Professor Crystal Donnelly, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, and all other dignitaries present over here. It is my great privilege to propose this vote of thanks. First and foremost, I express my deepest gratitude to all the leadership of INSA and Royal Society for hosting this meeting. Also the Yusuf Hamied and their foundation for their kind support of this kind of initiative. I thank all members of Royal Society for their commitment and travel from there to India for this particular meeting. I take this opportunity to thank IIT Kanpur, Director Professor Rangan Banerjee, Dean Professor Vivek Bivua, and Professor Rajendra Dhaka for making this event possible over here. It is my pleasure to acknowledge the tirelessly work done by my team, entire team of INSA, and all over here, the student of Professor Rajendra Dhaka ji at IIT Delhi. Thank you all for this particular program, and I hope we'll reach a very great level of this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen and all honorable dignitaries, you are now requested to assemble for the group photograph followed by high tea in the designated area. Thank you so much. I request the audience and also the team from INSA to please gather in front of the stage for the group photograph. I request all the honorable speakers, team from INSA and distinguished dignitaries to please come in front of the stage for the group photograph.